ain't only calling out NLE Choppa today. I calling out myself. You see, after the success of Slunk Me Out,
Smell like Badusi.
Smell like Badusi. From the disco-inspired beat, homoerotic lyricism, and gyrations reserved for Soft Cell's non-stop cabaret concert, it was clear that this man was conjuring a queer ear for this tune.
I'm trying to eat that. I'm trying to eat that. FBI, open up!
Which wasn't a one-off, because he doubled down by performing at Atlanta Pride, as well as making a powerful speech of class solidarity between black, straight, and queer folks. He is making an extremely great appeal for class solidarity and intersectionality. You gotta big it up, you gotta stand. It was beginning to seem as though NLE Choppa rebranded into a queer ally, which, coupled with his traditionally black masculine presentation, was actually an asset. However, the more we peel back these layers, the more this looks like laundering a sordid past with rainbow capitalism. NLE shot up a house with his BM and child there, live tweeted about it, and proceeded to rebrand as this positive vegan rapper guru. And we ate that, as well as profiting from another marginalized culture of which we don't think NLE is a part of. Is this the same muscle that black folks have when we big up white people performing blackness? Why we big up an Eminem? Why when we see a white girl twerking, we big her up, but we denigrate the black person that actually been doing this from time. We denigrate the black women that have those features. We like the black features, but we like it with white people. Is this the same thing where we are quicker to uphold a straight person in queer folk business than we are to uplift a queer person performing things that have been canonically queer? And there within lies the problem. We don't know if he's a part of the queer community, especially when he's ambiguously tweeting things like this, despite coming out with disappointing follow-ups like this later. And even then, we still don't know, because maybe he don't even know. Which brings up some uncomfortable questions. Can queerness be gatekept? And should it? Why would a straight black man be extolled for performing queer culture when explicitly queer folks doing the same thing don't get a paucity of that visibility? And is he obfuscating those very black queer folks that have been doing this from time? Shadow Cakes the Killer, Backwash, Leaf, all of these folks them. You ain't hear about them, but I bet you heard about NLE. NLE will eclipse and overshadow and obfuscate someone that is queer simply because he is not queer and he's in queer people business and profiting off queer culture, and you can't stop him because you don't know if he's queer. As you can see, I got lots of questions, and this is personal because as a straight black man that is always in queer business, I have a vested interest in knowing. Today we talking about NLE Choppa and the Gay Rebrand in today's Foreign Friday.
It's a foreign man in a foreign land.
Today, y'all know what we talking about. We talking about something that is very polemic, something that actually hits, kind of close to home. I have like a lot of personal questions pertaining to this topic. We're talking about queer baiting. We are talking about who do we grant empathy? Who do we grant the ability, the capability, the full range of motion of sexuality and gender expression? Do we, the man them that are darker than blue, the cis-het man them, us terminally cis and fatally het, do y'all grant us permission to engage with our gender and expression as much as we say that we do? Because we might say, yeah man, cis-het dudes, them, y'all could paint your nails however y'all want, y'all could do whatever. But at the end of the day, it's what happens in practice. And in practice, sometimes y'all don't be practicing that. I can be real, I ain't gonna lie. What do we do with men expressing themselves outside of this wicked binary, this extremely rigid and tight? I talking like the hole of the needle, you know what I mean? Like needle hole, that little small way you have to tread it? That's how tight the binary is. That's what we have to fit into. And when we don't, we get social sanctions. However, us who dare to deny, us who dare to defy the rigid binary of being a cishet man, what liberties are we granted? What type of range do we have? How far can we go, especially us who are darker than blue? Leading us to, apparently, your boy NLE has come out. That he is coming out. That's what he is saying. Chat, he is saying that he is coming out. He put this out yesterday on the death of Rich Homie Quan.
This song's dedicated to my homies in that gangster league.
I ain't gonna lie. Chat, how do we feel about that? Chopper is in his name. Chopper refers to a gun, you know? In many different ways, man presents himself very traditionally masculine until all of a sudden, my boy say, I'm coming out. Julian say he's capping. Zell says he came out with a song. That's mad. We about to get into it, Potato. The idea of him trolling, the idea of him capping is a very interesting thing because quite often, a lot of the man them, especially the man them darker than blue, we have to engage with sexuality. We have to engage in gender of expression under the disguise of recreation, of trolling, of playing around. No homo. Just joking, just joshing with you. But that's a way that we also are able to toe the line of masculinity. Let's make no mistake here. I do believe man is trolling. I do believe that this is some rainbow capitalism. I do believe that this is corporations, record labels behind him trying to get a little piece of the gay pie. You understand what I'm saying? Zell is saying Chopper been leaning into the more feminine side for a while, if I'm gonna be honest. And that's also interesting. There's a couple reads of this. And I want to get into the nuanced nature of this because this is also something that I grapple with. I have been able to now express myself in different ways. You know, in ways that I wouldn't normally be able to, simply by virtue of being around folks who are more accepting of that and seeing other representations of blackness, of masculinity, and understanding and being secure in that. More that you read, more than in theory, but the biggest impact on me being able to even talk about things like this volubly is because of y'all. Like, in all honesty, if it wasn't for y'all, I probably would still be extremely steeped in that rigid brand of masculinity.
Smell like Badusi.
Smell like Badusi. Now, I ain't gonna lie. When I first heard this, I thought he said the bussy. I ain't gonna lie. Him saying that he would suck himself too. I mean, I was in the ghetto. I was driving and I hear niggas them blaring this on their speakers. This is the type of ghetto. Niggas like children, it's after 7 o'clock. The street lights are on and children still playing in the road. That's how you know. Unsupervised children playing in the road. That's how I know I in the ghetto. They just playing in the road. And they playing this. Wow.
I'm trying to eat that. I'm trying to eat. Oh God.
Once he realized that he was getting some pipe from the queer community, I think he leaned even deeper. You don't know if it's the egg or the chicken. You don't know if he leaned into this expression of gender, this expression of sexuality because he wanted to anyway and he was looking for an excuse to do that. Or if you have record labels out there trying to tell him, say, no, listen, we got to go this rainbow capitalist route. You don't know. Now, the problem that I have with this is that there are black, queer, mandem doing things like this and we don't hear about them. However, when a straight man, supposedly straight man, he has said he is straight. When a straight man does this, you all want hype this nigga up like he's the second coming of Christ. NLE Choppa is a straight man who is not appropriating queerness, because we're going to get into just like, how do you assign flamboyance? Because flamboyance isn't a queer product. We associate it with queerness. And that's also a little bit of like homophobia in there, but I get into it, right? Cakes the Killer is an extremely flamboyantly gay and does not hide his queerness at all. But you don't hear about Cakes the Killer. I mean, right off the bat, nigga already sampled a Donna Summer song. You know it about to get hella queer up inside it. I ain't gonna lie.
With some nigga who dick longer than Castro's. Say he like my songs and he really tryna f with me. Charge that nigga double if he think he finna f for free. Cakey on some other. And I switch that shit to make a homophobe a hypocrite.
Let me tell you something. As a straight dude, right? As a straight dude, not as a black man, as a straight dude, I was bumping this in the headphones respectfully and furtively. Cause you couldn't find me playing this over the loudspeakers. I ain't gonna lie. This is back in the day. I was still working through a lot. Even though the Smiths is my favorite band, I still had like a lot of homophobia, right? People be acting like, oh, I can't be gay. I listen to this. I support gay. But nigga, come on now. All y'all niggas know that. You can still be homophobic and you could probably even be more homophobic, right? NLE Choppa could put out a song that is vaguely queer. That is vaguely, from the beat, from the Euro step kind of disco-oriented house beat type of thing that he was going on, to the lyricism, to the music video itself. We would rate an NLE Choppa more for performing something that is contradictory from the heteronormative, overtly and classically masculine, black masculine persona that he has. And when I say black masculinity and traditionally black masculine, I'm talking about the thug persona, because NLE is very much doing the thug persona thing. And we would promote that. We would big that up. But we don't actually big up black queer folks. How many black queer artists you know? Kevin Abstract is out there, yeah. Brockhampton is a thing, yeah. In fact, I would venture to say that people wasn't listening to Kevin Abstract as much as they did before he came out with Brockhampton. Because Kevin Abstract was putting out his own material and that wasn't getting that much hype. You know how many niggas I know that used to listen to Frank Ocean, and then when it came out that he might be queer or bisexual or something, niggas literally stopped listening to him. Tyler the Creator, yeah. How much homophobia did Tyler the Creator incur simply from that flex freestyle where he say we looking for niggas to have butt sex with? When he said that, how much homophobia did he incur? Any success that a black queer person has garnered, especially in hip hop, is in spite of the homophobia. The Harry Styles thing is immediately what comes to mind. Young Thug get flamed for it. Harry Styles is a pioneer. Kid Cudi get flamed for it. Lil B get flamed for it. Because I mean, if you really want to talk about queerness in hip hop, talk about Lil B. And what's interesting is that when your boy figured out that he might get some hype from this, my boy doubled down and he said that he was going to perform at ATL Black Pride. This was received with glowing exhalation. Like, this was received with fanfare for a straight cishet dude to come out and say that, hey, I appreciate the queer community and everybody, supporting my song and everything. So you know what? I'm going to perform at Black Pride in ATL. They put this nigga at the front of the stage. So my question is, I relate this kind of to myself. And chat, I want to know, is this the same muscle that black folks have when we big up white people performing blackness? Why we big up Eminem? Why when we see a white girl twerking, we big her up, but we denigrate the person, the black person that actually been doing this from time? Or we denigrate the black women that have those features. We like the black features, but we like it with white people. Is this the same thing where we are quicker to uphold a straight person in queer folk business than we are to uplift a queer person performing things that have been canonically queer? I always in queer people business. And a large amount of my audience is queer. And this is coming from someone who literally has talked about past homophobia. I have been a perpetrator of harm to a community that I owe quite a bit of not only my YouTube stuff, but my own personal growth too. Not just YouTube growth, my growth. And it is all because of the fact that people, after I told them, some folks that are in the chat right now, after I have said, listen, I have engaged in the casual homophobia of people in the Caribbean saying, like man as equitable to that's bad. You know, same way how like people in the States say that's gay as shorthand for that's bad. Like I engaged in that. And it took me a while to realize that me thinking that I'm not homophobic because like I don't do overt homophobic things does not mean that I'm not homophobic, because I still create spaces that make homophobia comfortable. I might not be like the biggest homophobe out there. When I said things like man, or if I like, you know, the equivalent of that's gay, I might not be the biggest homophobe out there. However, I make the biggest homophobe out there comfortable. He's okay being at the table with me. He feels like I'm one of them. That's cause for concern. Queer is a costume for many queer people as much as it is for straights. It means nothing more. And that's where I get into like with the flamboyance part, because like we associate flamboyance with either women and femmes or just queer folk, when it shouldn't be, right? And it isn't. What is an ally's place? Because right now he may very well be obfuscating queer folk that are trying to get a leg up by headlining at Atlanta Black Pride Fest. I do want to address like this particular part in particular. Not only the rainbow capitalism of a rebrand like this, but also what he's rebranding from. So if a lot of y'all don't know, this is like another example of rebranding that he's been doing. He basically says that he won't work on any more music with Blueface because he assaults women.
One thing that I grew to understand is just treat women the best way you can treat them. Treat women good. I can say, God watching me right now, I've never physically closed fist assaulted a lady.
So it's mad. It's mad that dude is saying that, because as you can see right here, like folks are like, didn't he beat up his pregnant girlfriend? Now that is in reference to, I believe, this right here. It's very difficult to find like the full traces of it. There have been articles and whatnot on it, right? NLE shot up a house with his BM and child there, live tweeted about it, and proceeded to rebrand as this positive vegan rapper guru. And we ate that shit up. Yeah, Marina got it. And the reason why like I have such a problem with like policing what queer is, even if it's not my place and chat, let me know. Because we don't know. He's capitalizing off queer culture and he ain't even queer. The reason why like I hesitate in even engaging with that wholeheartedly is simply because we don't know. They don't know. That might be their journey. They might be on their journey, and us saying that, anyone saying that, folks from the queer community saying that, might push them further back in their journey into figuring it out. It's one of those very interesting conundrums, because I'm trying to figure that out as well. Queerness is one of those things. It's not necessarily invisible. I feel like it's one of those communities that is very susceptible to infiltration. And it begins to beg the question, like, should you gatekeep gay? That's the reason why like all invites to the cookout has been closed, because like we are very quick to invite folks to the cookout. Like when it comes to queer folk, and this goes back to like a live that we did earlier about like no straights at Pride, like the reason why like you kind of have to like hold space for that, even though like there's like a lot of bad rhetoric inside that, because like what about bisexual boyfriends? Like what about all this other stuff, right? How do you police that? Should you police that? Because that's exactly what folks like the foes, not the allies, but the LGBTQA plus foes, that's what they would like to do. You know, that's what they do. Like J.K. Rowling will tell you that you are a man when you are actually a woman. The power of a gay rebrand. Why, when someone has shown themselves to commit some level of malignments and crimes to a marginalized group, or just in general, like if you're a shitty person, one of the ways out of that shittiness is to go full tilt into supporting the queer community. What's the power in it? At the same time, if it is genuine, shouldn't we encourage that? For instance, when when the baby did this, when the baby came out and did this, The baby promised to record an apology video to the gay community to save his performance slot at a music festival, and he never did it. Only then did he begin getting dropped from the lineups. Like, the bare minimum was to just apologize, and you would have still been able to save some face. You would have still not had pecuniary punishment of losing your spot at a musical lineup. I really wonder about the solidarity when it comes to like the Black queer community in particular. You're ostracized from whiteness, and you're ostracized also from white queerness. You're kind of stateless as a Black queer person, I'd venture. And in so far, like a Black cishet, one would say, ally, where I am, my role in this, right? And what I understand my role to be is to kind of be in that lobby, in the liminal space of allyship, where I know for sure that I will get some social sanctions for simply allying myself with queer folk, visibly, publicly. My power is to be invisible. My power is to be able to enter some of these rooms with fatally cis-het people, hear the conversations, and provide that juxtaposition point. My power is to be able to gain access into these rooms simply because folks don't think that I'm queer. And then by doing that, I gain access to conversations that I normally won't. Social media moves so fast that people want to demolish you before you even have the opportunity to grow, educate, and learn from your mistakes. As a man who has had to make his own way from very difficult circumstances, having people I know publicly working against me, knowing that what I needed was education on these topics and guidance has been challenging. I appreciate the many people who came to me with kindness, who reached out to me privately to offer wisdom, education, and resources. That's what I needed, and that's what I received. I want to apologize to LGBTQ plus community for the hurtful and triggering comments I made. Again, I apologize for my misinformed comments about HIV/AIDS, and I know education on this point is important. And that's the reason why the rebrand didn't work. Not to say that like he went full tilt like you would like an NLE Choppa, but he tried to go down the ally route after it was too late. After they realized that the only reason why he was doing it is because he was dropped from his musical lineups and whatnot. The fact that like you have NLE doing this, right? And then he then changes from whenever this was to a person that doesn't want to work with Blueface simply because he assaults women. Again, to be clear, NLE, someone who has shot up his baby mama house, has now grown a couple years later to be a person that won't work with people because they are belligerent towards Black women. That's kind of good, kind of performative, but also like the reason why like I grapple with it this way is because that's what we kind of want, right? We want a behavioral change. We want people to change. And when they're atoning for what they have done in the past, we want to make space for them to grow out of that. You want to call bullshit on some things when the actions don't add up to what is being said. But then at the same time, you don't want to deny that person the room to grow and to police that growth, especially if it doesn't look like how growth looks like to you, as that might very well stop the growth. It might be one of those things where the guy then turns around and says, oh, well, you know, I tried, but I guess like they're not going to accept me. And I don't hold much space for that anyway, because like that road to allyship is hard. You know, like it's not supposed to be this easy, like hold your hand type of experience, invite you to all of the seminars, go to diversity and inclusion exercises, and then at the end you get your diploma, you're an ally. It ain't supposed to be that. The true black pill of allyship is that you will never gain access to the community in the way a citizen of that community, someone local to that community and marginalized experience would. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to want that. It's supposed to hurt. There's no rewards for it. It's the Evian Ilyich type of thing. I enjoy the personal growth that I've gotten by virtue of advocating for the queer community. That is a selfish, like, and I need it to be a selfish endeavor. It's a selfish situation. It's a selfish byproduct of me allying myself. And I need that because I don't need to buy into this savior, straight savior type of complex where I pat myself on the back knowing that, yeah, I didn't say anything homophobic today. And in fact, I stopped that guy at work from doing homophobic stuff. Even though he's going to do homophobic stuff when he gets out of my orbit, I feel good. I could go to sleep and go to my very cis heteronormative straight life and it's fine. I don't want to be that. I think like when it hit me is just like when I realized that, okay, if this is what it feels to be ostracized or for people to talk to me like, oh, so you really believe that that you be talking about in them videos? That hurts. I got to deal with that. That's nothing in comparison to actually the people that are what I am defending. It's like the whole nice guy thing where being an ally is supposed to bring some sort of reward or validation from the minority group. It's one thing to hold an accomplice or an ally at arm's length because you know that he is an accomplice. You know he's not a member. But when it comes to queerness, in many ways that it's, you know, it can be invisible. There shouldn't be like these like immediate identifiers of queerness, because like that's sometimes like a problem for me. Like I need to like see like particular things to understand and say, okay, that's like I know how to engage right now because like queer. No, I need to be okay with not knowing and like still treating whomever I'm dealing with the same reverence and respect, asking the pronouns and not just assuming it because of the way that they're presenting. Bellamy is saying queerness can't be gatekept reliably because of the nature of being queer and the ability and sometimes necessity to hide it. That's exactly what I'm saying. The specifics to queerness make gatekeeping dangerous. You know what that means? Like, so an NLE Choppa then gets permission to an extent or some permission and continence to engage with the community, eclipse people from that community in visibility because he is benefiting from the novelty of someone not from that community performing cultural traditions of that community. NLE will eclipse and overshadow and obfuscate someone that is queer simply because he is not queer and he's in queer people business and profiting off queer culture, and you can't stop him because you don't know if he's queer. Is he providing a net benefit by commodifying it?
Hey man, you a rapper, what you doing at a club like this? Well, I say, you wanna know why? I ain't gonna lie, every day, man, we wake up and we fight acceptance every day, whether it's our skin color, whether it's our weight, whether it's our look, whether it's what
I want y'all to really listen to what he's saying and ignore the fact that Spiritual World is playing this. But listen to what Dog is saying. He, as a black person, is fighting for acceptance every day. And that's why he's aligning with the queer community, because that's what the queer community is doing as well. Look at this nigga holding court at Atlanta Pride. At the same time, he is making an extremely great appeal for class solidarity and intersectionality. It's the unabashedness, like the social sanctions that a straight person would incur from doing this. You gotta big it up. You gotta stand. It's great. It's what I do. It's what I do. And would I be fighting for solidarity if I wasn't getting paid? I mean, when I made Combating Caribbean Homophobia, I wasn't getting paid, and I still did that video. And for a long time after that, I still wasn't getting paid, but I was getting death threats for that video. So like, I know for myself, yeah. I think a better question for me is that like, what would I do if like a life-changing amount of money was presented to me for doing the opposite, like for not advocating? Like how like you found out that like a lot of these conservative grifters were being paid by the Kremlin. Like if the Kremlin offered me money, like yeah, fraud man in the fraudulent line, like yeah, exactly.
Hey, listen, at the end of the day, I believe in one thing, and I feel like everybody is equal, no matter how they drink their water, how they eat their food, how they piss, shit, or motherfucking sleep. Do you feel me? So I just want to let y'all know, bro, I'm not here for no gimmick. I'm not here for no extra numbers. I'm not here for no extra views, because I already got it.
that is a whole crowd of, presumably, I would assume, majority queer folks bigging up a straight person for preaching class solidarity. He communicated that in a way that I wouldn't be able to do it, you know? Like, I personally constantly am trying to find ways to not get too academic with like folks in my life and try to advocate for the things that I advocate for in my videos, because it's a different language sometimes. Not trying to say I dumbing it down, right? But like, we speak dialect and we speak in analogies and realities that aren't the same that like when I'm talking to an American, North American audience. I think we're witnessing the death of queerness. The fact that straight people are carrying the torch means that the damage is done. Queerness has been replaced with respectability. That's interesting. This is like an existential question for me. Like NLE as a figure, not to like aggrandize his existence, but for the NLEs, should they be able to operate? Should there be some gatekeeping? As we've said in the chat, like, it's very difficult to gatekeep queerness, which means that it's very susceptible to infiltration by bad actors. Some may say that, like, who cares? There's a concept in political science called the free rider. Free rider is someone that benefits from the actions and political enfranchisement and agitation of a particular group. Let's say like you voted Democrat and they voted for a bill that as a disabled person that voted for Trump, you benefit from. You are a free rider. You are benefiting from a policy from a group that was passed in spite of you. There's space for you. That experience is valid. You shouldn't have to always be in that community to benefit from that community and what that community has done. That's like the weird reality of this for me, is that you have to be okay with people that are benefited from the institutions that marginalized community is not. You have to be okay with that person being in community with you and benefiting from your community, because you don't know if they are a part of your community or not. I think like we need to, yet again, like almost from like a gender abolitionist point, straight people doing this and like blurring the lines is great. That's what we need. We don't need for us to fall for the trap that every queer person needs to be this flamboyant parody of what it is. Just like every black person shouldn't have to be a member of NWA in order to be black. I would assume it's the same muscle. And the more that like we blur those lines and like we realize how much of gender is a scam, him being here is a net positive for men that don't wash their ass and like feel like they never had an opportunity to particularly engage with these gender norms, with outside of the gender norms. NLE has just kind of allowed an avenue for them to like explore their sexuality and their masculinity in ways that they haven't found. I guess like we just need to like be comfortable with not knowing what it is. Like stop trying to like, I talked about this like in a Big Body Foreign episode, but like stop trying to quantify or attach concepts and people into things that you already know, like into schemas and concepts that you already know. Take everyone and everybody as their own new experience, which is a difficult thing for folks that like are tired. And that's why like you see like a lot of people that like are trying to get into like pronouns and whatnot, and like they learn that there's a new pronoun and they're just like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. I'm just gonna be a bigot. It's less effort. Let me just go off of common sense. Anytime like when I see a masculine or like someone that is traditionally masculine just doing like something like a little bit to throw someone off, that's great. I think queer politics and black politics are going through parallel crises right now. I mean, it's very well the same crisis. Now that we have a generation of black LGBTQA plus people that gained access to state power, then they feel they must be emboldened to say, yeah, I mean, and that's like not necessarily a novel thing. We've always had people from marginalized communities throwing the marginalized community for a pittance of proximity to the major community. Oh, you mean like me giving out the gawk foreign? Maybe that ain't small. Sometimes it is though. Okay, you see, this is what I'm going to leave you all with. Chat, this is the type of that I'm going to leave you all with today.